Oh man. All right, guys, we can start our stream. Some pretty unexpected events happened yesterday. So, 5 years ago, there were two girls in Delphi, Indiana, who were traveling together across some bridge. And after this happened, they disappeared for a little bit and were later found to be murdered. To this day, the police have never said how they were killed. There was a recording on one of the girls' phones about with the man saying "down the hill," and this was used as like a piece of evidence as to what maybe the suspect looked like or how they, maybe what their last encounter with this person was. Um, and pretty much since that happened, we've had very little official information regarding like progress in the case put out. You've had a couple of suspects that people have created or theorized because they live in the area and they have some kind of like weird past. But for the most part, it was turning into just another unfortunate, both in the sense that it happened and it wasn't solved, cold case. And yesterday they announced that they've arrested somebody. And we're going to be getting a news conference tomorrow, excuse me, on Monday, because today's Saturday, that'll go into what the things that they believe make this person guilty. And I'm very excited for this because I've known about this case pretty much since it happened. And I was really hoping it wouldn't turn into another April Tinsley where you have several decades go by. Just to give you another example, that case was of a little girl that in 88, so 1988, she was um, abducted and killed by this guy. And then 20 years later, he resurfaced, maybe 15 years later, like in early 2000s, he resurfaced and he was putting these little creepy messages on little girls' bicycles and taking credit for what he did. And people could never figure out who it was until about 4 years ago, when they finally arrested this 50-some-year-old man for what happened. And it really surprised me because I first heard about the Tinsley case back uh, when America's Most Wanted was still a thing. I'm just remembering the good old days watching that show every weekend. Um, and I just thought it would never get solved. It would just be again, it was just because look at how much time had passed. It was 20 years later and they still hadn't figured it out. So it just shows you that some of this stuff, if you give it enough time, they do make an arrest. But I was really hoping the Delphi case wouldn't turn into that. And it seems that again, we don't know definitively whether this is the guy or not, but it they wouldn't just arrest somebody just for the sake of arresting a person. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Yeah, I don't even talk about true crime stuff on here that much. That's only because it gets really depressing when you just kind of go over that every case involves somebody getting killed, and then it's either the bittersweet ending of the person is deceased, but at least the person that did this to them is in prison, got caught, whatever, or you look at something like Zodiac, the person is deceased, and the person who did it are never got caught, just walked away and was completely fine with living the rest of their life after doing this stuff with no conscience, no guiltiness, nothing. So it was really true crime stuff is just it is interesting to watch because you see all the different cases and things that people have done, but it's also really depressing just from the standpoint of you're reminded of it to yourself that everywhere around the world you have these crazy people who, in most instances, for no reason at all, decide to inflict some bodily harm on other human beings that other people, the families of the victims, are forced to live with for the rest of their lives. It's just really sad. It's one of those things where I guess I'd rather. I'm thinking of a good way to explain it. I would rather not discuss that stuff that often because of the way I feel about it. But I probably would every now and again just talk about it in like a casual manner because it does interest me. I remember when I was a kid, my grandpa said that I would look into that stuff like I was trying to be a detective. But I've always been fascinated by just how um, police officers, find criminals and they look for behavioral signs. They make a profile of their modus operandi, um, and DNA and all the rest of that stuff is just really interesting to me. Just this because a lot of criminals are not smart, so they'll do something and they'll leave clues of it that are very obvious even for a regular person to see, and it's always interesting just when you have the more skillful ones, what type of things end up happening to get those people caught. So that's always been something I've been interested in. Really, really sad. That this type of stuff happens to people so often, like every day. When you think about it, someone is just getting attacked or killed, and a lot of times it's over nothing. You could be as innocent as being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, some of the stuff people do to each other is enough to make my stomach turn. I mean, it's really sad that people act the way that they do a lot of times. Um, just to kind of get into something a little less morbid. I was just kind of thinking to myself about certain things, and I was considering doing a it's one of those types of, I guess you could say it falls into the romance category, but it still is just kind of more like a life thing of just speaking in a, because I don't even think I would try to make any jokes for it either. Like that's how despondent I would be in it because it is a topic that really depresses me in certain ways. Um, but I also, it's so interesting how you can have a like idea for something. It could be a video, it could be a movie, it could be a pilot of a show, and the idea comes to you very easily. Like you just have it right there. But the execution and writing the script, it's always the toughest part. I mean, I wish I could show sometimes how much notes I have of different stuff I've wanted to make and just how little you can end up amounting to when you actually sit down and write it. It's really hard to write some stuff. Like I'm not even joking when I say that. Sometimes I often think that like it's almost a it's a really interesting contradiction with just how easy it is to come up with something and then how hard it is to write it. Just like I remember my grandpa told me that and he lifted this from some book or from some show he was watching about writing, but he talked about how when someone writes something, they usually have the beginning and the ending, and then they try to find ways of how to, make those two things get from one point to the other. And to this day, that's how I write. I always have a beginning in my head of how it's going to start and an ending of, like just the full climactic events. And usually with videos, I feel that same way with that structure too, because I'll have like I guess I write this stuff a little bit like a conclusive, like an essay where you have the conclusive essay or the conclusive paragraph where you talk about, like you summarize the events, which I always think is the simplest part to write. Um, but I don't know, it's really tough to just kind of sit there and talk about this stuff and do it in such a candid way because you are effectively telling the internet where people can mock you, can make fun of you, and oftentimes they do. Hey, here's this thing that has affected me in a very non-good way, to put it lightly. And in response to that, you have a lot of these guys. It's not women that do this. We've established before, but you have a lot of these guys who, on some internal level, feel better about themselves by putting another man down. Um, and I've always said that, like, I'm not a fan of a lot of the stuff relate, like, just the stereotypical stuff you hear about girl power and all the rest of that trash. But at the very least, there is a segment of women who encourage each other to support each other. Um, of course, they still go online and call each other B words and all the rest of that, but I can at least appreciate that there are some who try to have some basic solidarity. But with men, you almost don't see that at all. I mean, and I said before that, like, I can completely understand where somebody does something to you, like, you're angry at them, whatever. You feel like you've been wronged in some way. But you can do a video and just like have some random guy that you've never even met before, spoken to, um, come and write something nasty about the way you look, or attack you over, just it's so interesting to me how, like, you can get this really vindictive, rage-filled response from a person that you have had no negative impact on whatsoever because you've never spoken to them, never met them. I just find that fascinating. And it's just really kind of depressed me just to think about how, like, at every turn I always feel as though there's like a segment of people. It's not They're not that big. Might be maybe few, a dozen, whatever. In the grand scheme of the internet, they're not that big. But it feels like whenever you try to do something that in your heart you believe is productive, you have this group of people who, again, are usually not that large themselves, relating to both their notoriety and the number of them that are doing this. But you always have this group of people who are antagonistic, who are trying to put you down. Um, I mean, I remember when I was like really hard in the paint and editing for WikiPiss, and I had like the guy that wrote all that, and I was just thinking to myself, like, I'm getting insulted, not in like a direct way, but like having my contributions attacked by a guy on a website that says it wants me to help. It wants people like me to volunteer, people who are interested in a certain topic to contribute, to edit. Um, and I was like, there is something wrong with that. Like this heightened level of antagonism for doing something that doesn't benefit me in any conceivable way. I mean, I don't get credit as far as like, oh, you've helped improve this article, so now we will make you a mod, or now we will tell people that you helped us. And you editing on that website is one of the most thankless things you can do. Um, and it requires, like, I remember I thought about it and I said, like, I'll never forget this one broad was talking about, um, I hate this is why I say I hate when people who've never actually met me try to do this, so, like, try to have a window into your soul. But I remember I had this guy that wrote a comment about like me being self-absorbed. And I laughed because I'm like, just being an editor on WikiPiss is one of the most selfless things you can do on the internet. You contribute to a site that gives you no recognition. You don't get paid for it, and you're expected to put up with the editors on there and the people that vandalize the damn place. So it's really funny to me how, like, you can do something that any objective person looking at it will say this guy doesn't benefit at all. He's not being helped by this, and they'll still try to accuse you of having this specific personality to fit their agenda. I read a comment, wasn't in my comment section, um, but I read a comment, and we had this conversation maybe, it could have been 3 months ago, 4 months ago. It was a while back. But we were talking about how career success and personal success are not the same thing. You can have a person who becomes, just to give an example, a big time actor, getting work every single year for 30, 40, 50 years, and they're making millions of dollars off all the stuff they're in. And that same person who has become a successful actor or actress can have been divorced repeatedly, can have strained relationships with their children, you know. Um, the two things don't have to are and a lot of times don't correlate. They don't automatically mean one is going to happen for the other. In fact, I've actually said before that um oftentimes when you have career success before you have personal success, it tends to cause, especially if you're a guy, women who are trying to get something out of you to magically appear, these Johnny come latelys, and attempt to use your success for themselves. That's one of the reasons I said that, like, it's so hard to imagine because if I was being completely optimistic, like just I'm so confident, right? And I'm like, oh man, in 3 years, I'm gonna have a channel with 100,000 subs. Well, hell, I'm never going to want to talk to a woman, at least one, I mean, online ever again, because who's to say that she's not trying to go out with me so that she can appear on my channel and get more attention for herself? So that's one of the reasons that I just kind of stress that. But I brought that up in particular because there was a comment that I'm going to read, and I'm going to explain you why and it might even appear in a video. I don't know for sure yet. This guy says, "Oh my God." So somebody called him, I don't know what I have to go look back in that comment section, but somebody called him because he was being antagonistic to guys that talk about hard to see with a chick. Um, they called him as, I don't even like saying this word, but I'm gonna just say it for the sake of this particular segment here. Simp. So I should say wimp with the S. But whatever. So he says, simp what? Bro, you can be a virgin all you want. Not this world's fault you lack game. Now, when you read a message like that, when this guy says you lack game, the inference from that particular message is that in lacking game, you are going to be unable to have intercourse forever or something like that. Like it's all tied to, getting somebody behind the sheets. Again, that is the inference of that message because look at what's written before. You can be a virgin or so that like that's just looking at that message, that is the inference of it. This person says, isn't game nothing but getting boxed? And then he responds to that person by saying, game is being able to handle yourself in any situation or social interaction. Having game is not just about attracting women. It's about your ability to move through social settings and communicate fluidly and command respect through charisma and charm. That's what the vast majority of the immature males on these channels don't understand. This isn't about attracting women, about attracting females. It's about molding social relationships on any level. Men who command respect and know how to deal effectively with people have success in multiple areas of their lives. In business, forging relationships with males and females. If you want to be a beta, that's fine, but communities like these aren't a bunch of enlightened men who choose to do their own thing. They are just a breeding ground for immature mindsets of emotionally underdeveloped individuals who have nothing to offer the world and in turn fail to attract women as a result. Now, it's so fun. We talk about like the personality test that you have to undergo when you're like online and talking about this stuff. But it's so funny to me how like Every time these guys, because there are some that try to be more ambitious, and they always look so dumb. They try to be more ambitious by telling you game and whatever other stupid word they've decided to adopt for the week. This is about more than just getting women. But here's the problem with an assertion like that. This comment is being made on a video about a guy talking about how hard it is to get women. So why is it that every time we have these personality tests where someone is trying to tell you what you need to improve on, with their unsolicited advice, it's always in service of discussing chicks? Like, I don't walk down the street to go get some food and somebody goes, "Well, I think if you had better game, you would like this." I don't do a video about the news and have someone go, "Well, I think if you had better game, you would have more people." Like, give me a break. But this is why I said, and it's like, look at what he writes at the end of it. Immature males who have nothing to offer the world. What the hell are you offering writing this garbage in the comment section? God, like, it's so funny to watch these guys get on their high horse and act like they're the most amazing thing ever. It's like nobody knows who you are. Have nothing to offer the world. What the hell do you have to offer by trashing other men? Why would you, as a straight guy, care if another guy isn't getting screwed? Like, what does that have to do with you? Do you want to screw him? I'm telling you, man, I never sit around just wondering, is this other men having intercourse? Because, like, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. Hell, I usually even think if chicks are having it because I always just assume they are. I mean, they can get a banana from some guy before they can get one from the store. I'm not even joking. Anytime I meet a woman and she tries to say that she's like virtuous and saving herself for, which they don't do this that often, but I'm just always laughing now. I'm like, yeah, right. God, people always try to trick you into like believing all their BS. And I said, look, I'd rather have people who are honest about being what's the word for it? Loose. Like, just they admit, hey, I do this with this person, that with this person, I'm not committed to anybody. I'm just all over the place. Because I'd rather somebody tell me the truth about their undesirable, at least to me anyway, undesirable qualities than sit here and, pretend to be something they're not. Because it really doesn't benefit me to, think that this person is good, or are good in the sense that they are someone who is not doing that type of stuff with like a whole bunch of people. But they just love to lie. And to go back to that guy's comment, I always thought that people understood that, because like you read tabloids, if you just, and that just in general, people read tabloids, and what do they see? Celebrities who have been in TV shows, movies, even some politicians are thrown in there every once in a while. And these are all people who, to some degree or another, have success with regard to their career, and they're being like discussed and talked about because they're not having success with their personal life, or at least are perceived to not be having success, because we don't know these people on any personal level. That's why I said that, like, don't ever think. I know people online like to write stupid stuff, but don't ever think that just because you get a girlfriend or a wife or whatever other contraption she decides to call herself, that you will automatically now be successful career wise, because it can be one or the other too often. Who is Manny? I know a Manny when I was in first grade. I mean, I met him in kindergarten, and then we were friends for like six. We went to the same school for like 6 years, and then he just kind of vanished. But it was spelled with the NY instead of the I. I think I is like a girl's name or something. I don't know. I'm not trying to be offensive. Well, he was African as well, African American. I don't know what part of the region his ancestors came from. But yeah, every time I've seen Manny spelt that way, it's usually a lady. But there are a lot of names where they put like it has a Y at the end of it, and they'll put an I at the end of it. Like it either is the same name or they change it up a little bit. Like you have May that's spelled May, and then you have some people who will spell it with an I instead of a Y, and they'll just call it My or something, and like they'll change out the I for the A for an E, or they'll still call it May with an I, as one person did. And they had me looking like feeling really stupid because I was like, I've never seen anybody pronounce this after it was spelled that way. No, these names, man, they get more and more confusing. I mean, I wish I had a nickel for all the times I've seen like different names, and then you think you're spelling it correctly, and they're like, "Oh no, it actually has this letter and that letter." God, let me think of another example. No, these names get spelled all kind of different ways now. I'm trying to remember which news story it was where people were acting like they were losing their minds, where it was like a little bit, it was like two comments, and it was from these weird guys I'd never seen before. And usually, if it's someone I've never seen before, it's almost always some troll crap. Oh, it was on the video about Biden responding to the Republicans that were talking about student loan debt being stupid and our student loan debt relief being dumb. And then some people in my comment section were like, uh, they are slackers and I didn't even read all the garbage. I just got rid of it. Just trying to hear that trash. Like I said, if you're really going to try to create this twilight zone where people who go to school and study and work hard to even be able to stay in that school for multiple years are slackers because they can't at 18, 19, 20, 21 pay thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in loans, just go away, please. There's just some BS I'm not going to listen to on here. Like I said, maybe if I was a candidate for office, I'd be more open to these like never end because that's what this stuff is. They're not going to change your mind. You're not going to change their mind. So they want to have these never ending back and forths. But just in like my own free time, sitting here and reading, and I forget that. Ugh. Some of these books get heavier and heavier every year. I always thought that was so funny how like you'll get a novel and you'll order it from somewhere like Amazon, right? And you'll get it right out the box, and it'll have some scrapes on it, some scratches. That's why usually I don't even like ordering paperbacks because every time I do, there's almost always something weird with one of them. Like the book doesn't look as if it's not pristine, but like it's been taken care of. I hate that so much because I always really liked reading when I was a kid, and even back then, I was pretty good at taking care of the stuff I would get. Like always making sure my hands were clean when I read it. Always keeping it in some like area where I knew where it was. That's actually one of the biggest differences between me and my brother. Like, just man, it's so sad that stuff is this way. I am not looking forward to my end of the year video because it's going to be a real depressing one. Because this year has turned into a full on remake of last year, and I really had hoped that it wouldn't be. It seems these days people don't want to engage in an honest way with topics. People just want to dunk on each other. Yeah, a lot of them, when you disagree with them on something, it could be something as trivial as far as like in the grand scheme of things as like a movie. It could be something as major as, I don't know, world events. They will sit there and they'll write some like bad faith argument, and no, and like they do this on purpose to get you to keep going back and forth with them indefinitely. And that stuff really drives me insane because I have higher ambitions than to just sit online arguing with people every single day about something that, just like they're like, what's the point? Like, you're not considering what I'm saying. I'm not considering what you're saying. And we know that we're not going to change each other's mind. So what is the purpose of this? The only time you would see me get into a debate and just stay in it over and is if it's something really easy, like with a lot of that romance stuff. It is extremely simple to dismantle most of the stuff those guys say, which is why they usually don't respond back, or they try to like shift topics to something else. I always remember from like I think it was last year there was a guy that was like, um, "You should go and exercise at the gym," and I was like, "Hey, I'm not interested in this. I'm content with who I am." And like a normal person would say, okay, well, he didn't take my advice. He's cursed. He's on his own path. Instead, he tries to ask me like, why am I content with who I am and all this other weird stuff. It's like, dude, you lost the argument of why I should go out and do all this exercise for a bunch of people who, let's be very clear, have nothing to offer to me besides the triangle between their legs on average. So, just get lost. Like, so I said, what is the purpose of these back and forths? Just waste everybody's time. Or the other theory I had is that they want the whole stream to be about them, but that's another subject. They are just so annoying with that. They want you to just argue with them back and like for what? Well, that's why I was upset with their like I brought that comment up earlier. I don't get gym recommendations in any context outside of this woman crap. I don't just have people around me going, "Hey, you want to go to the gym? I got a membership. Or my doctor. We're concerned about your health because you have gained this amount of weight, or It's only with these weird guys doing this psychoanalysis stuff online where they're like, "You must go to the gym. You need to go to the gym. You need to go to the gym." And most of the bastards saying that are hiding their faces. So you don't know if they're going to the gym or going to Dunkin' Donuts. Like I said, the guy that was leaving all that weird stuff last year had a picture of a football player that he stole. But you're gonna try to sit here and try to make me feel bad about the way I look, yeah. And you over there hiding your face. There was a I don't you, there was another one, and I still have the screenshot of this crazy crap. He said I should go and do 500 push-ups every day and run 1.3 miles every 3 days. So like almost 3 miles every. And I thought it was a joke when I first saw it because I'm like, I know people that actually do push-ups, and the most they might do in one day is like 30, 40, 50. maybe 60. Who the hell does 500 push-ups in one day? And it's like you're doing this for what reason again? Oh, for the woman stuff. Yeah. But a woman never have to exercise for you. And I said before that like the disparity, like to go on a date with a woman who, for all these guys know, could be 300 pounds, you're gonna have to do 500 push-ups every day, and nobody sees where like there's something wrong with that, and people overvalue and overhype chicks way too much. If that's even a thing that could happen, and of course, the guy that said this, he had a picture of himself, but it was like this. Dude, nobody listen. You will never convince me that any regular person, including ones that exercise, do 500 push-ups a day. I don't believe it. That is not something normal people do, and it's not something anybody should have to do just to get maybe a date with a woman who, as I said before, for all you know, could be 300 pounds, could do no exercise herself, but you need to do all this for her. Yeah, that does not sound appealing at all. And remember, I saw the guy's picture, and if we assume that's him, it was up here. Now you would think if you have this amazing physique from your 500 push-ups every day, you would be showing your whole body, right? You wouldn't have some weird like MySpace headshot. Here, like those damn heads in the jars from Futurama with the way that camera angle was. I'm telling you, every time they start doing that, you need to exercise thing. It's always some guy that hides his face, like without just like all the ones that come on here writing this crap about oh, you should feel bad you don't have a girlfriend. It's like they don't none of them ever prove that they have one ever. You don't know if they're dating a woman or their damn right hand. Like, are you serious? And that's what I'm supposed to feel embarrassed by? I'm supposed to read their garbage and feel bad when more often than not they have no proof that they're any more successful than you or I? Really? Those are the people you're supposed to be envious of? The faceless dwellers who are too damn scared to show their appearance or make a video, much less talk to a real living human being? The men who are so sexually suspect that they'd rather sit around for hours typing comments and analyzing the appearance of another man than talking to actual women? Remember, I came out and said, "Look, I like chicks the way they look. I don't like the way they act and the things that they have put me through. So I'm probably not going to ask them out anymore." Like I said, that I outright said I'm done with them. Again, I still find them attractive. They're just not a group that I would like. Again, the juice isn't worth the squeeze to me. But like, what's their excuse? They apparently think if you go out and do all this crazy crap, you'll have a girlfriend. So why aren't they doing that? Why are they devoting so much time to trying to address some guy on the internet? You know, it's weird to me. It's a strange contradiction. I already told you they want you to be like some type of superhero to just get a date. If you listen to the stuff that they write, because they tell you to get your to they basically are telling you to become rich. Like some won't say be a millionaire, but they always mention something about you should have more wealth. Blah, 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 blah. Do you realize? Because remember, they also at the same time are telling you to like exercise, go to the gym on all this physical crap, health regimen garbage. Do you realize that it's a fact that most people who are wealthy do not have muscles? Because most people who are wealthy are old, which is to be expected because they have more years of, doing the various things that allowed them to achieve heightened levels of financial success. But do you realize that most people who exercise are not rich. So it's like basically they want you to become this thing that for the most part doesn't exist. Again, there are people who exercise who don't even have a six pack or an eight pack, let alone $1 million. I live in a dangerous place, so becoming stronger because became somewhat of a necessity to me. I used to not care about becoming buff. Yeah, if I was really scared about like somebody mugging me or whatever, I would just get like a weapon. Because like I said, you could have muscles. They pull out a gun and put a bullet through your chest. It's gonna be the same result as it would for an obese person, unless you think that if you exercise enough, you're gonna gain immunity to bullets, like Superman, which is what they want you to be. Dude, some of the chicks that these guys tell you to work so hard for aren't even pretty. Like, I had a joke about like asking out celebrity chicks, and it was supposed to be like a social experiment where I fully expected to get rejected. And like, I wouldn't even be upset at all because that's the expectation that I, as a normal person, you know, should expect from someone that's like way up there in terms of their success and notoriety. But it would be a social experiment because it would illustrate that to me the stuff that men tell you to do just to date some woman that nobody ever heard of that's on the computer or in real life is the type of stuff you wouldn't even be expected to do to approach an actual famous one that's worth something. Basically, if you have to do all this stuff just to date a regular woman, you might as well just ask out famous ones at that point. And at least if you get turned up by famous ones, people are not going to sit there and go, "You're a per," because they just won't respond. Like they expect you to not be successful, and at least in that instance, they have a little bit of sympathy. People will try you if they don't have a weapon. Random dudes try to fight me for no reason. They weren't even trying to rob me. Look, I'm not about to sit here and get into a debate on the necessity of, I guess, being buff or whatever. I'm simply explaining to you that every time this physical regiment stuff gets mentioned to me, the context of it always is this woman stuff. And it gets really annoying because if doing this is such an essential thing that I need, and oh my God, you can't live without it, why in the world is it only getting brought up with regard to these chicks? That's the point I'm trying to make. So I'll leave that at that. Oh man. Somebody put their TV on full volume and with their door open too. They have those things blasting and going all full power. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Yeah, I'm always really disturbed by just like the types of things people say to each other and the type of stuff that these guys want you to do just to get a date. Like it's always been really crazy to me. I don't know. I just think it shouldn't be like this. People need to really just relax and stop trying to put somebody else down over this stupid stuff with these hoodlums. Oh man. Apparently, there's going to be a barbecue over here. I say apparently because things happen so infrequently and get mentioned and then it gets reversed. So I don't even know for sure. Oh man, I don't know. Every time I just try to sit down and write stuff lately, it's been just hard to like stick with something, like just to come up with an idea and then sit down in front of Google Docs and type it out for to be 10 or 15 pages. I usually am content when it's over 15 because that's like enough for me and just as far as like enough stuff to justify trying to make it, but it just gets really irritating. I don't know. It's hard to like get it like you get the idea, and I always have notes. I always like if I have characters in like a show or something, I have a little blurb where it's like, hey, this person likes to do this, that, the other. But I guess what's hard, it's hard to make plots where that stuff comes up. Like, oh, this character's favorite food is broccoli. It's hard to then say, oh, here's an episode about eating vegetables or something. Like it's hard to make that stuff factor into the main plot. And if they mention it elsewhere, it just comes off as being random. So it's real tough. I'm just waiting for Manny to address the fact that if he was a woman, and I still don't know what your gender is, so if you're something else, I apologize. I didn't mean it. We're not trying to misgender you. It was a genuine mistake. But I'd like you to admit that if there is a disparity with regard to the options that a man has versus what a woman has, and women typically have loads and loads of options while men have very little, no matter how much they improve, quote unquote. Manny, imagine if you had voluptuous chest melons and you on a website like Reddit or Tinder or I mean, heck, even Instagram, and you post a picture of yourself. It doesn't have to be anything, like lewd or whatever. It could just be you just sitting in front of the camera like this, showing off your those full voluptuous chest melons. And within a day or two, you got 5 guys saying, "Hey, what's up? I saw your picture. I liked it." 10 guys saying, "Hey, what's up? I saw your picture. I liked it." 20 guys saying, "Hey, what's up? I saw your picture. I liked it." And what's so crazy is that, and I tried to explain this to these idiots. There were times when I was still trying to speak to chicks where I would talk to sometimes two, three, four of them at once. The difference was always that I would speak to that many of them at once to lower the chances of having one, be like, oh, I'm not, because I fully expected most to, at some point, if you tried to introduce the fact that you're interested in them romantically into the equation, they're going to say, oh, I'm not interested in you. So the point of talking to that many was to see if you could limit it by playing this numbers game. But a lot of chicks will talk to a bunch of men that they know they're not going to date, men that they know they're not going to meet, just for attention. I mean, like, what purpose does it serve? Like, let's pretend you're talking to some woman, and she's in South Africa too, right? You mentioned earlier in the stream, and she's like, "Well, Manny, I don't know if I like you more, or if I like this guy from France more." And of course, I'm not going to tell you where the guy's from, but it's like she'll know that the guy's from France, a place that she almost certainly is never going to visit. And she'll actually have you on even ground with this guy, even though going to see you is a much more feasible, reasonable thing that could happen because of your proximity. Whereas with this guy, she knows she's never going to go see him, but she'll actually prefer speaking to him in some cases, even if you are well, dude. Looks are subjective. I mean, I've had a whole bunch of mostly men attack me over my appearance. I've had some chicks say I was attractive. It doesn't. It's one of those things that you just and like I said, man, some of the chicks that do this stuff aren't even pretty. There was one that I was talking about on this stream. It was called "She's a 10." I showed her picture to 5 different people, and every single one of them said she was not attractive, and she knows she's not, which is why she hides her face in that little crappy Discord server she's in. So I don't even want to get into discussing the look stuff because we'll be here all day if we try to get bogged down in that. I'm simply explaining that by virtue of a woman's gender, she on average has infinite more options than a regular man would. Kotsky Merchant took forever to show up. It's like I might as well not even have a scheduled time for streaming. I might as well just start streaming anytime I want, just randomly. I'm very disappointed in the Kotsky Merchant. He'd rather go watch a movie like Morbius than show up on a stream like mine. Like, look, if he abandoned me for something like Infinity War, um, or Jaws, classic like that, I could say, okay, you know what? That's an A-tier movie. This is totally worth his time. He traded my stream in for this vampire film that bombed at the box office. He'd rather go watch Jared Leto make all these weird faces than appear on my stream. I have been betrayed by that merchant. He's not a banana merchant. He's a Morbius merchant. I was actually watching the original. Oh yeah, you're gonna rub salt in the wound by trying to say you're watching something good after the fact. No. Remember that stream where I was like, we should have Raimi Spider-Man 4, and that guy was like, I'm glad it didn't get made. I just have a different opinion. It's like, dude, you have an opinion about a movie that doesn't even exist. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody doesn't like a movie, at least they can say they saw it. You're like, no one knows barely anything about that film. And you're like, I'm glad this. Man, get out of here, troll. No, I don't want to speak disparagingly of Manny's ex. I don't want him to start trolling. I know she was a wonderful woman that Manny had plans to marry, and then she got called to serve in the military. I have this one relative who said they were going to call me but never did, and I was telling this other person, they act like because they live in the same city. It's like they act like they went off seas to Afghanistan and and like they took their phone away and they were on tour, so they couldn't say a word to me. I'm telling you something like it's so interesting how like every time there's a woman who's not related to you and you try to be like not even like one like let's pretend it's one that's not like you're related to them, but it's not like your mother or your grandma or maybe even like your sister, for example. It seems like anytime there's a woman and you try to like actually, it doesn't have to be romantic. It could just be someone like it could be your own damn cousin. They act like they're the busiest people in the world. Like you try to set up a meeting with them. Oh, I have stuff to do this week. Oh, what about next week? Oh, I've got stuff. Like Jesus Christ. That's why I said with a lot of these people, I just gave up. I was like, you will never do anything with, and it's like they're not even doing anything. Is what drives me crazy. They go and they do a little job or whatever, and then they go back to their house and they go and lay down for like the next 10 hours. Like, are you serious? That's the person who can't have a phone call with you once a week? Really? So I don't know if anybody else knows that, but it just seems like every time there's some woman who's not a close relative of mine and you try to like get to know them or do something with them, whatever, they act like they are the busiest people in the world. Like you might as well be getting charged just to have them respond to you. It is so crazy how people like the, whatever, man. I'm tired of that. This is annoying. All you want to do is just talk to somebody, and they act like it's this extremely hard thing to do. That's why I said the hell with it. That's why we're all annoyed. Morbius was trash. I'd rather walk on hot coal than watch that god awful movie. I know you felt the same way about my stream. You know, there was this one guy on Discord who was mad at this other one. Like they have some kind of like arch nemesis, years long rivalry. And he actually wrote a comment in like a DM to somebody I knew, and he said, I hope he gets hit. He said he hopes the other guy gets hit by a moving vehicle. And I and he didn't even like write, I hope he gets like hit by he wrote, I hope he gets hit by a moving vehicle. Like like from and ever since I heard that, I'm just imagining the guy that he doesn't like has some little kid on a tricycle and they hit his leg. He's like, ow. That was the moving vehicle. Man, some of the crazy stuff people say they want to have happen to other people on here is just. And it's like you wish that kind of fate on someone just because they argued with you on a stupid website. A website where if you didn't want to talk to them, you could have just blocked them. Yeah, I'm really sick of a Koski merchant. He keeps abandoning me for these subpar films. Before Morbius, he was watching what was it, Electra? What's the other one? Catwoman from 2004 with Halle Berry. He doesn't even like go and watch any of the good ones. He's like, I'd rather watch this than his stream. God, man, I'm so disappointed. The moving vehicle is just an old lady electric car, electric wheelchair. And imagine she just like bumps his leg. And excuse me, little whippersnapper, can you move out the way? Pardon me, young man. I was just going in the neighborhood and I was hoping that you could move to the side by a little bit. No, this stuff is just God. The moving vehicle. Told you people are really weird. The types of things they say to each other and about each other. It's really interesting. Mm. Akatsuki merchant isn't even going to talk anymore because he's going to be too busy buying all that damn DLC. You know, he loves DLC. He loves it when there's a video game where you can't even play the full thing unless you spend another 60 or $70 on it. That's one of his favorite things about games. You know, I still can't get over Fighters and how like that game's base price is $59.99. And if you get all of the DLC at its base price of $6, because half the roster is DLC, um, you are going to be spending almost $200 on that $60 game. I just think that's insane. No, DLC has destroyed gaming at this point. It's just sad the stuff that people put up with, you know, like told you 20 years ago, you put out a game, that was it. And if someone didn't like it, they had to wait for the sequel to improve it. Trying to see if I can find the chapter index. I hope there's one in here. The funniest part about online insults, how weirdly complimentary they are sometimes. Oh yeah, sometimes like I'm really confused when I read some of this stuff. Like there was the guy that said the self-absorbed thing was talking about how I would be an interesting case study for someone so odd or something. I was like, dude, you know how many damn people make videos about how stupid chicks are? Are you serious? Like the only difference between me and them is I don't support being in a group with other people because that's just the way, or other guys because that's just a way to like lump everybody together. Even if we have like different goals or wants or desires from a romantic relationship, but I don't really have anything that's that unique as far as like this person is so different and interesting, you know, it's just whatever. Like a whole bunch of people talk about the news, a whole bunch of guys talk about the stupid chick stuff. So I don't really see where the I don't know. They just try to make you out to be more than you are. Like I said, I'll be the first one to tell you I'm not important. It just what gets on my nerves is that like you have people who try to make you into a bigger thing than you actually are. Like you would never see me so outraged by the love life of another man. I'm gonna write whole paragraphs trying to argue with them. You need to do this. You need to do that. The hell with that. I had some girl trying to make me feel bad for being cordial with her. Like, what's the charge here? Look at you showing basic human decency. I remember there was some woman that insulted me on Discord, and I said like it was weird that she would choose to insult me because I'd been nice to her, I'd like treat her well, and then she said I had done the bare minimum. It's like, well, hell, whether you consider it minimum or not, it's still weird to insult the one person that tries to treat you decently. Like, are we not allowed to have some kind of common courtesy towards those that are nice to us? I mean, what would I look like if I have somebody who says, "Hey, how are you doing?" I go, "To hell with you." You'd be like, "What's wrong with you? This person just asked you a simple question. You know, that could have been answered in like 5 seconds. You don't have to act this way." So I said, people get caught up in some weird stuff, just the way they choose to act and how they talk to each other and the types of stuff that they want you to put up with from other people. It's really sad that this stuff is this way. I don't know. People are a sad bunch. Things they do, the ways they talk, the ways they act, it's all disappointing. You're doing the bare minimum, okay? And what the hell do you want from me? I'm not going to worship the ground you walk on. All hail person who's done nothing except have triangle between their legs. So I said, if you listen to people online long enough, they'll drive you insane. All hail female. Blessed be the triangle of 1,000 men's wants. Dude, I can really picture like some pastor at like a church, and it's just a bunch of men. Like there are no women there, right? Just a bunch of men, and they have all these guys sitting in the pews, and the pastor's got like the robe on, and it's got the little like the woman the symbol for female with the with the little circle and the arrow coming up. He's like, we are gathered here today to celebrate the better gender. I'm telling you, nobody cares about men. If Manny were to right now go on GoFundMe and say, hey, look, I'm down on my luck. I really need some help from people. Even $1 will be a lot to me. He'll be lucky if he gets 2 cents or even one person doing it. If he was a woman, he said, hey guys, I lost my job and I'm just trying to make it, and I don't want to resort to having to do underhanded stuff to even being able to live out here in South Africa. Here comes the guys. They get their protest signs and their PayPal stuff and they start sending it. The shrine is a sculpted golden statue. All hail triangle. Dude, the funniest thing ever would be if they're like a cult where they see a woman walking down the street and they all just pause and start staring at her like this. Like like they even though there are supposedly more women in the US than men, you would really think there's only like 2 chicks for every 100 guys though when you go online and just like if you participate in this dating crap in like the amount of value that random broads are given, you would really think women are an endangered species. It's not even funny, man. You understand what I'm talking about, right? Like when you see 20, 30 guys trying to talk to a woman, a random one, not a famous one, not one that's done anything of any great noteworthiness, a random woman having 20, 30 guys trying to talk to her. You don't see where that's weird. Like doesn't that give off the air of this is someone whose life inherently matters more than that of a man? Not because she's done something like as an individual to make her matter more, but just because of her gender, she matters more than you or I. You don't think there's something wrong with that? Tell you nobody. If there's any lesson to take away from this channel, nobody cares about men. Not one bit. You like the majority of your own damn family probably doesn't care about you either. I made them call you and ask you how you're doing and check on you. Exactly. We are the least cared about group of people on this whole planet. If you're a man and you're straight, especially, you get accused of stuff, you get attacked, you get harassed, you get denied basic things, told that you're entitled even though you're the only one that's actually putting in any effort to make stuff happen. Um, and like I said, nobody cares. You will have a tiny little slither of people that you could probably fit in one room that might show just a slight bit of concern for you. Outside of that, the rest don't give a damn, man. I hate saying that, but it's the truth. If you're a man, you are considered inherently inferior to women, and nobody cares about you except for maybe a few people in real life. And a lot of us aren't even that lucky. Nobody's going to donate to you because they think you're pretty or try to send you a message and get to know you or any of that. It's just a complete limitation of options for you. It's really sad. I've had women attack me just for being male, and when I ignored them and didn't engage, they treated that as an indication that I don't know how to talk to women, weird stuff. I was on a forum one time where there was a woman who said she would never date a man that used the site, and I was like, so if I said women that use this website are like they would have no potential as a romantic partner in any circumstance whatsoever and should all never be dated by anyone like myself. You get where like they would be upset by that. But if one of them says this about the men who use the site, um, you know, people were hearting it and saying, "Yeah, girl, I agree. Yeah, yeah, yeah." There we go with that disparity. So if I don't let women attack me for absolutely no reason other than hating my sex, I don't know how to talk to them. Dude, but that's why I said that, like, what is the purpose? Like, we've been over this before. What is the purpose of engaging with the group who, in any circumstance where there is conflict, where there is disagreement, people are going to take her side over yours? It's not because she's making great points or she's saying something that's so profound and never been thought of before and is destroying the argument you're making, simply because of her gender. Like, what is the purpose of even doing anything in relation to them if that's the result you're going to get? These continuous attacks on you and all this unworthy praise on them. I'd love for somebody to explain that to me. What is the purpose? Sure would be nice. Oh man. I literally didn't say anything to her, and people were attacking me over her, saying that I should listen to her and let her have a voice, as if she isn't already actively using said voice. Well, like I said, people they want to control what they say to you, but then they also want to control how you respond to it. So I said before, someone can have a voice and like we don't have to listen to it. Like if I do a video and it only gets like 10 views, I'm not being censored. People just aren't listening to what I have to say. It's like, that's not my voice being taken away or being silenced because if I was silenced, I wouldn't be able to even express myself, period. So they pretty much think she's entitled to you listening to her or whatever. Like you must hear her out, or else she is being denied a voice. No, I'm so done with this. I mean, I couldn't not listen to her. She was mentioning me in every comment she made. Well, that's what I'm saying. How is she being denied a voice if I said, man, it's just so stupid. Like, help my voice. It's been taken away. God, man. My my voice. I'm being silenced. People are really stupid just with the stuff that they tell you. I mean, like, I really don't get where. Whatever. I'm not even gonna try to engage with this anymore. This whole thing with this woman just sounds goofy. Akatsuki Merchant, do you agree with my assessment that nobody cares about men? That if something happens to one of us, it's like whatever. It's a really scary thought to think that if you were another, like the other gender, and all the same things happened. Well, first of all, some of them straight up would not happen. Like you won't have some woman talking about 11 years and only having some gold digger day. Like that wouldn't occur. But I was thinking about like we'll do a stream and we'll have some guy come out the woodworks and write some weird comment about the way somebody looks. And I was like, if they did this to a woman, like if a woman was streaming and I went to her stream and I was like, I think you've gained weight. I don't like your necklace. I don't like your dressing sense. I would get banned on that stream and I could possibly get banned on the whole website too. Because that's harassment. But like I said, when it's done to men, people just seem to feel like they have like this heightened level of ability to do it that they don't with chicks. Like they have this power. I straight up told her she wasn't entitled to response, and she was like, "Typical male trying to take." Yeah, man, this starts to sound like a joke version of an argument. Like I'm not saying that you're making up for it, but just like the way that this is worded, like God, this is so stupid. Stop taking away my voice. My voice. And look, even Manny knows that if he was a woman, there'd be 10 people in the chat going, Manny, are you there? Where are you? Come back. That's how starved men are for for attention from chicks. Dude, that family thing is so scary. Like you can have I'll give you an example. You could have like let's say you have an uncle and they live in the same city as you. Like not that far away, but they never call you, they never send you a message, never ask you how you're doing, never come to visit you. If they come to your house to see somebody else or do something else, um, and they just happen to be at the place where you live, like it's really scary how people can be related to each other and just care almost nothing about each other. Like just have no concern, no desire to reach out, nothing. And it's like, these aren't even like the, I'm talking about, like sixth cousins, seventh cousins, like some big, huge, like sometimes we're talking about the damn uh brother of your dad or your mom or like it's really crazy. You know what I mean? Like, that is nuts. I mean, like, I just I don't understand how people can be related to each other and act like they don't. I mean, some of them act as if they don't even have any relatives. The way they treat them. Usually, I've gotten to that point with certain ones because I made attempts to keep in contact with them, and they felt like they never reciprocate that same desire to actually keep something going. But I'm very serious when I say that, like, there's a little tiny group of relatives, maybe five, six, seven at most in your whole family of 30, 40, 50, 60 people that are alive at any point who care about you. And like it's so depressing to think that you have all these people who are related to you so closely by blood and they might as well not exist. That's really scary. Like Akatsuki merch, imagine if you and I were brothers and we both live in the same town and I have a daughter and every year you come to my house, you never say anything to her, and then you drive away, you go back to your place, and you never call her, she never calls you. You two might as well not even be on this in the same dimension because even though you're two things that coexist, you don't acknowledge each other. Yeah, it's really sad, man. That stuff is like this. God, it's really like I'm not even joking. That's one of the most disillusioning realizations because it's like if your own family doesn't care about you, who does? Bro, my cousins be ignoring me for no reason. We were close up until I was 16. Then they changed and I don't talk to me. Don't talk to most of my cousins because I'm the only one trying every time. Oh, it was the same thing with me and one of my relatives where we were around the same age. And I would always call them and I would like try to speak to them and they would never answer back. And eventually I just got sick of this, and their stupid excuse was I was working, which if like, I saw them on the weekends. I know they weren't working. Just liars, man. But yeah, ever since that happened, was that like 6, 7 years ago? I don't even care about reaching out to them anymore because I know that they don't answer. And they've also done some more stupid stuff that I'd like to not get engrossed with. But that's really sad. Like if your own relatives don't care about you, who does? It certainly isn't any of these chicks. That's why I said every time you have some woman who's like, "Can we be friends?" Like, what does that even mean? We're gonna sit here and have these hours long calls where you're gonna tell me about some guy that you're with or whatever. Like, I'm good, man. You can have them. Oh, they love leaving people on read. They love leaving you on read. They love never returning your call. Those are their favorite hobbies. And again, it's like these are not random classmates you had 10 years ago or are some woman that you saw walking down the street and she gave you her number and now you're trying to harass her every time. You're like, these are your relatives, your flesh and blood. Again, if they don't care about you, who does? Because I said, like, I've always had about maybe five, six, seven that I believed cared about me and like actually did stuff for me in some way or another. Which still, that's like a relatively tiny group, and you'll have way more who will say they love you, but I don't believe it. But the point is, like, even if you were to just believe me and say there are truly only about six or seven that cared, right, and the rest didn't. A lot of people don't even have that. Like, you have people who have siblings that they don't speak to for months on end or for years. You have people who have parents they don't talk to for years. Like it's just really sad, man. Like that genuinely disturbs me that you can have people that are close to you as far as blood is concerned, and then you just never acknowledge each other and you act like you don't even exist. Like that stuff is really sad, man. I need to. Oh my god. You try to get a book and the paperback costs more than the hardcover. It should be the other way around, you would think. But yeah, it's been a really sad just realization of mine that you genuinely are almost always on your own, and outside of a couple of people, you just don't have anyone you can depend on. And like I said, when you're a guy, because there, are, like, if we're being fair, there are some chicks that have the same thing of like only having a few relatives that care about themselves. But it's like because of how desperate men are, where like we get no attention from chicks, we are instinctively more inclined to care about one of them in the sense that we'll ask them how they're doing. We'll try to keep in contact with them regularly. Like at least surface level stuff like that that you would think is very basic. You won't get from chicks if you're a man. Um, I mean, I can even go over certain examples where there are chicks that have married men, and by the time that they're ramping up for a divorce, they live in the same house and don't see each other for days. So that's why I said that like a lot of that woman stuff is so scary because you've got a bunch of guys who are not cared about by even members of their own damn family. And then they're supposed to go out and do all this ridiculous crap for chicks that don't care about them either. Even the ones that'll say that they're your friend are full of garbage. I mean, I told you the story of the one broad that said that we were friends, and then a whole month went by and she didn't say a word to me. Talk about, oh, I was in this other state, which she was in another state, but it's like she tries to accuse use traveling for a month as an excuse to have not, done something as simple as sent a text message, made a phone call. Oh, the place I was staying at, people would listen. Like, yeah, I've had that happen too. That's why I go outside. Were you glued to your chair? Were you on house arrest? No, you weren't. You're just a liar. That's why I said next time somebody tells you they care about you or they love you, no, and it's a woman or one of these relatives never calls you or contacts. No, don't believe it. Because, like I said, they had plenty of chances to show it and they have not. So, um, I think I'm probably gonna get off here, guys, because this audience has been pretty scarce. Thanks for showing up, Manny and Akatsuki Merchant. I will do another stream on Monday, and we'll go from there. So, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.